Friday, most of you did this because you had laptops. If you didn't have a laptop, at some point you're going to want to do this. But on the Brandon Valley homepage, make sure you bookmark this. You're going to use this a lot. Your Skyward's on there, your email's on there. A couple other things that I would make sure to save. Under students, don't forget your Alex. You probably have McGraw-Hill already saved for science and history. And then Holt McDougall is for your ELA book. The other one that I would suggest bookmarking is under students. If you click on lesson plans and then click on 8th grade red team, don't scroll, but click on 8th grade red team and bookmark this. This is how you get to all of our lesson plans. Okay, whoops, sorry. Somebody over the weekend emailed me and said, hey, Ms. Hoff, I'm going to be gone from class. I have an appointment. How do I know what I missed in your class? So here's me telling all of you. All right, so if you're going to be gone, your reference is going to be 8 Algebra 1. The lesson plans are going to look exactly like you saw last year, the same format. And I have mine usually set out pretty far. Like I have a next couple of weeks done for you guys just because that's how my brain works. So here's this week. Maybe. So today we're going to translate sentences into expressions. It tells you it's chapter 1, lesson 1, the name of it. If you're ever gone and you want to print the notes, you can. You don't ever have to. If you just want to write them in your own notebook, that's totally fine. And then after your class period, so at the end of the day, I will link this video that I'm currently recording right here on Daily Video. So if you're gone, you just go and click Daily Video. It's like you'll never miss class. And then your homework's always down at the bottom. Okay? We'll talk about the rest on there, so how you get there. Questions so far? Good? All right. Pull up your note sheet. Grab your pencil. Let's rock and roll. I expect that you take notes with me. I would strongly encourage you not to work ahead of me. There's a lot of times, a lot of things I say that are of importance, and I told you guys way at the beginning on Wednesday, I move around constantly, so you don't have to turn and look at me. What's up on the board is far more important. I'm just going to say things like I'm going to ask you these questions. If you want to raise your hand, you can. If you want to toss out the answer, that's totally cool. But this is what I always remind people. We've all had that one kid in class that answers everything as fast as they can, and you get really annoyed. Agreed? And on the flip side, we've all had those times in class where it's super quiet and everyone's refusing to answer, and the teacher gets really annoyed. And then you're like, no, I have to answer even though I answered the last two. Don't be either one of those kids. Follow me? Throw your answers out, but also let the rest of your class participate as well. I don't want to have to silence you, but if I need to, I need to. Some of you just process faster, and we got to give everybody else a second to think. All right, an expression. An expression consists of sums and products of numbers and variables. Variables are symbols used to represent unspecified numbers or values. And honestly, variables to me, unless it tells you what variable to use, I don't care. Don't pick O, don't pick I, don't pick S, don't pick T. Does that make sense? O looks like a 0, S looks like a 5, T looks like a plus sign, I is just a weird letter. 90% of the time, I'm going to use X, Y, and Z. Here's what I am going to caution you on, though. X's and Y's could really start to look alike when you write kind of sloppy and you're like cruising with your math, right? So I would strongly encourage you to write your Y's with a hooked tail. That way it can never be confused with an X no matter what your X looks like. Okay. A term of an expression, maybe a number, a variable, or a product and quotient of numbers and variables. They are separated by a plus or a minus sign. When numbers and letters are multiplied, they are called factors. When numbers and or letters are multiplied together, they are called factors. I have x to the n power. Just a little note to yourself. X is your base. N is your exponent or your power. That exponent tells you how many bases are repeated. So if we had x to the third power, that really means x times x times x. Or 7 to the fifth power. 7 times 7 times 7 times 7 times 7. All right, so a lot of terminology up there. A math expression is anything that does not have an equal sign, though. Expressions do not have an equal sign. Variables are your letters, and terms are each separate chunks separated by plus or minus signs. Okay? So the main frame of today is translating both directions. Sometimes they may give us an expression here, and they want us to translate it into a verbal sentence. Okay, so we have here. Can somebody tell me how you would say this first expression out loud? Jackson. I have a small complaint with that. Brianna? Bingo. If you say 3x to the fourth power, they think it's both the 3 and the x. So make sure you just have that word times in there. So if you want to write that down just for yourself here. 3 times x to the fourth power. I should actually spell out fourth. I'm going to give everybody a minute here. Write a verbal expression for the middle one. What would you say to somebody who hasn't seen this and you want them to write it down? Who's willing to share? Mason.
5 times squared.
Z. Okay. 5 times z squared plus 16. I'm good with that. Do you have to use the word plus? No. You could say 5 times z squared added to 16. You could say 5 multiplied by z to the second power in addition to 16. Okay. How about the last one? Watch where your variable is located to make sure that you write the phrase correctly. Any volunteers on this one? Jackson already gave me an answer. Somebody else? Thatcher.
1/2 times a plus 6 times b over 7.
Ooh, one complaint. You got more?
Divided by.
Bingo. Perfect. Over is not a math word. It does not mean a math operation, but he immediately knew that. 1/2 times a plus 6 times b divided by 7. Be cautious with this one with the b in the numerator. Make sure you say that you're multiplying before you're dividing here. Does that make sense? Just little things like that. All right, we're off to a good start. Let's fill out some words that mean each of these operators here. What are common phrases or words you may see for addition? We'll just toss them out. Plus. Added. Yeah, technically, probably not a very common one. It starts with an S. Some. Another one will be in addition to. and more than. Those are probably your most common that you'll see. Now, there are other ones that could, another one is total. When they talk about like in total, there were 12, usually 99.9% of the time they're talking addition. How about words for subtraction? Minus, subtract, take away, difference, and less than. Put a box around less than. Less than is a special phrase, and we'll talk about it here in a minute. But less than is a special phrase that we have to do something unique with. Good job. How about words for multiplication? Times, multiplied, or multiply. There's another one. Small word. Starts with an O. Has 2 letters. Of. Of is, when you say like half of, means 1/2 multiplied by whatever you're talking about there. Our list always gets smaller as we go down. Lots of words we can think of for addition and subtraction. Multiplication and division have a lot fewer. Division. Divide. There's one other one. Starts with a Q. Quotient. Quotient. Honestly, those are probably what you're going to see. There's not a lot of variation in that. Okay? So on your own, now we're going to go the opposite direction. I'll read you the verbal phrase, and I want you to write it algebraically. So the first one says, a number t more than 6. How does that look as an algebraic expression? No equal sign. No equal sign. A number t more than 6. Any volunteer on this one? Thatcher. T plus 6, after I just got done telling you not to use t, right? I put it in the notes then. If you're going to use t, I would make it capitalized, or I would make it have a hook at the end so that it doesn't look like a plus sign. Technically, could you write 6 plus t?
Yeah.
Yes. Addition, the order does not matter. So technically, you could write that. This one I'm going to do with you because it's got that special phrase in it. 10 less than the product of 7 and f. So the way I attack this is I say, okay, well, 10's a number. Less than means what? Subtract. Product means, ooh, this is another one we probably should have added up here. Multiply. Maybe we should add that. So we're multiplying what? 7 and f. How do you show that those two are multiplied together? Right next to each other, or you can use a dot. Honestly, I would just put them next to each other. Do not use an X for multiplication anymore. So it looks like so. But that special phrase of less than throws a curveball. Less than does mean subtraction, but it also says whatever's in front of the word less than really needs to go behind the minus sign, and whatever's behind the word less than actually has to go out front. So 10 minus 7f, we have to swap them. So really our expression is 7f minus 10. Because we need 10 less than 7f, first we have to know 7f, then we'll take away 10 from it. Subtraction matters the order you have. So if you have 10 minus 7f, I cannot give you credit. I always write it that way, and then before I circle my answer, remember, with less than I have to swap. Try that last one. 2/3 of the volume V. 2/3 of the volume V. Somebody I haven't heard from today willing to tell me what you wrote? For being eighth period, you guys are awfully quiet today. Maddox, what do you got? How did you show me times? Did you just put it next to it? Did you put a dot? A dot like that? Is he right? Yeah, technically, could you have done this? Yep, either way. One thing I would get used to writing your fractions, the numbers over top of each other, a lot of times people write it like this. And I'm going to shy you away from that, push you away from that, because my question is, does the V go with the 3? Does the V go next to the 2/3, or does it go with the 2? I'm not really sure, right? Okay, so I would not write your fraction as a sideways slant. Just one of those little picky things Miss Hoff will get you on. Flip it over. You want Mr. Martinez or you want Katie? Katie. Katie bakes 40 pastries and makes coffee for 200 people. Write an algebraic expression to represent this situation. That's a terrible problem. Let's not pick Katie. Let's pick Mr. Martinez. That doesn't even have like a question in it. I don't know who wrote these notes. Mr. Martinez orders 250 keychains printed with his athletic team's logo and 500 pencils printed with their web address. Write an algebraic expression that represents the cost of the order. This one actually gives you what you're trying to calculate. How do you calculate the cost of something? Like not this specific problem, but if I went to the store, bless you, and said, I bought 5 cases of pop. How do you calculate how much money I spent? Caden. Okay, so what are you going to have to know? The price. Which he's not wrong. You could take the price plus 5 times, or you could multiply. Okay, so if we're trying to figure out the cost of his order, what information are we missing, Maddox? The price of. Okay, and are they the same? No, so we have to pick 2 different variables. Pick one. Why? What's it standing for? What about keychains? The cost of one keychain. You guys are the first class that has picked X or Y. Usually people are like, K is fine, but I like X and Y. I agree with that. And I think I heard somebody say use X for the other one. What is that going to stand for? Cost of one pencil. Okay, now that you know that on your own, write me an algebraic expression to represent how much money Mr. Martinez spent. Somebody I haven't heard from. What do you got? Sophia.
250y plus 500x.
Thoughts? Agree or disagree? Agreed. Now, if you didn't use y and x, you used a different letter, that's fine as long as you have them with the correct numbers. Good work. You're going to notice a lot of this chapter is review, and I will be really honest with you. We're going to cover a section a day. Monday's a review. I'm actually giving you 2 reviews. So Monday and Tuesday will be a review, and next Wednesday you'll have a test. Actually, I take that back because we don't have school on Monday. Tuesday, Wednesday is a review, and Thursday is a test. Okay, so just a heads up, this chapter is going to be a lot of things you've already seen. Okay, so at the end of every set of notes, at the bottom of your notes, I will always write for you 1-1 with a slash. So chapter 1, lesson 1, you are going to do problems 2 through 40 even. Now this seems like a silly question, but what do I mean when I say even? Even numbers. So 2, 4, 6, 8, blah, 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 blah. Okay, now, when you're in my room, you're going to go back and you're going to grab a math book. But if you don't get this done in class, you're going to have to reference your stuff at home. Okay? I think you guys reset passwords in science today. Is that right? Yes? Okay, so on the sticker that I gave you, this is where you want to use McGraw-Hill username. Somebody tell me what your username is. And then you guys reset your passwords. Because we all set it to the same thing.
And it's just Jackson. You all know your password.
We intentionally set it that way. Like we have you, like we all talk. All right, so then you go into your algebra book. And I know we went over this, but I'm just going to go over it again. This is where I would right here select chapter 1, lesson 1, and then click ebook. I hate that it's 2 pages, so right down here, you see where my mouse is way at the bottom. If you click that, it'll just go 1 page. So then you just got to click, those are notes, those are notes. As soon as you see the blue line, that's where your homework's going to start. So then I'm going to use the little zoom function, and here's where you'll find your problems. You're going to do them on your notebook. If you do not have a notebook, I have paper that you can have. Okay? The rest of the hour is yours to work. Do not pack up until I give you the 2-minute warning. If you get done, you can work on other homework, but don't pack up.